CBS 13 News at 11.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Beth Jones. Rain is heading our way and it could disrupt some weekend plans. Let's get right to your forecast. Here's CBS 13's Lexi O'Connor.
We're actually going to see some sunny skies to start out the week, and I'll have all the details on that coming up.
Can't get enough of those sunny skies.
I know, we'll take them.
That is for sure. Tonight, hours and hours after these early morning fires broke out, you can actually still smell smoke in the air. It really looks like there was an earthquake, not a thunderstorm. Take a look at Hall Hill Road in Rumford where we're standing. The roadway has completely caved in where we are right now. The storm had barely begun and there were only a few inches on the ground, but treacherous conditions led to all this. A 19-car pileup on 295. Good evening, I'm Beth Jones. Foley was kidnapped in 2012 while covering the Syrian uprising. The Islamic State posted a video last week showing his execution, saying it was retaliation for U.S. airstrikes in northern Iraq. And the British ambassador to the U.S. says by using voice recognition technology, they are closing in on identifying the militant who killed Foley in the video posted last week. MACRA is coming, and it brings with it sweeping change for healthcare providers. The new regulations are especially worrisome for those who may not be ready when implementation hits. Healthcare crisis in Maine. Supporters say they want universal healthcare for all Mainers. Fox 23's Katie Sampson tells us how this is the start of a larger movement for change. Just starting off with the basic step here. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. So it's a 3-part step. That's a crossbody and a single turn. We'll talk about an early Christmas. A pair of New Hampshire grandparents are $2.4 million richer tonight. The Chester couple hit the jackpot at a notoriously stubborn MGM Grand slot machine in Vegas. That's really going to tell the tale as to just how intense this gets and how much flooding we see. Again, high tide. Woo! Oh, I've been waiting for that all morning. All morning. Good times. But yeah, you can see some pretty intense action out here. We're live in Camp Ellis, a very soaked Beth Jones, News 13.
Oh,
Back to you.
I try to keep it together around people, but when I'm home alone, it's horrible.
Trevor Mill's mother, Eleanor, was among numerous friends and family members who stood up in court today to ask for justice for her slain son and Renee Sandora. Their convicted killer, Joel Hayden, just feet away. They described agonizing grief, nightmares, anger, and all asked that Hayden get the maximum sentence.
He deserves nothing less than life, and I hope he lives out the rest of his miserable days caged up like the animal that he is.
The court imposes the following sentence.
The judge handed Hayden 2 life sentences, one for each life he took on that day back in July of 2011, when Hayden shot Mills and Sandora outside her home in New Gloucester, a crime for which Judge Mills says Hayden showed no remorse. On his way out of court, Hayden had this to say.
You'll pray for me like I pray for y'all every day, all right?
The peaceful spirit will get him further than just fighting this thing. It's over.
For the parents of Renee Sandora, their focus now is raising their 4 grandchildren, one of whom testified against their father. They say there is no real closure. They will never see their daughter again, nor will her children grow up with their mother.
Well, we keep a picture of their mother in all the kids' bedrooms so that they'll know her. And when the time comes, we'll just tell her what happened, tell the kids what happened, and go from there.
Today, though, their message was for all those out there who are trapped in the same cycle of abuse that cost their daughter her life.
If people can get away from them, far away, that's probably the only thing that will work, because they always come back.
In addition to serving life in prison, Joel Hayden has been ordered to pay almost $20,000 to a victim's compensation fund. His attorney tells us they plan to appeal this sentence. In Portland, Beth Jones, News 13.
They'd read about it in storybooks and stuff.
Little did they know the storybooks were about to come to life. As part of a school service project, Mariconique High School senior and ballerina Holly Perkins brought her passion for dance halfway around the world to this group of orphans in Tanzania.
Just starting with the absolute basics. We started with the positions of their feet and their arms and what a ballet bar is.
I left ballet class
What began as shy first steps soon became leaps of joy, connecting with movement, music, and their young teacher.
DJ, do you like ballet class?
Yes.
What's your favorite part?
My favorite part is splits.
Splits? Yeah, you're really good at them too. Have you been practicing?
I really love you, Holly.
And through the Maine State Ballet, Holly also brought with her donated leotards, tights, and shoes. Everything they'd need to truly feel the part.
They don't usually have many things that are their own. They have, a couple outfits and that's it. And they're ripped and this and that. So to have new, beautiful pink leotards or shoes, even for the boys, was just so out of the ordinary. So special.
This is like a mission for her. You can bring this knowledge of dance or music to other folks around the world. It just bridges gaps and builds understanding, and it's just such a wonderful way to communicate and share what you know throughout the world. It's been wonderful for Maine State Ballet to kind of be a part of it, to like live vicariously through Holly for this. It was just great to be a part of it.
Holly is back on her home stage now, but she says her mind and her heart are still back in Tanzania with her students, especially since before she left, they asked her, well, who's going to teach us ballet now? But she says she hopes the few weeks she had there have opened up a whole new world of possibilities for them.
It's not just ballet. For them to experience something like that and maybe to think about opening opportunities for all these other areas that they can do anything. I think that's definitely a lesson, that to just be open and to enjoy every moment, because they've been through so much that they're just that more thankful for every loving relationship that they have.
Maine to Tanzania, dancer to dancer, a relationship and a love that knows no borders. In Portland, Beth Jones, CBS 13 News. Well, Adrian, today Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel told Americans they are developing a long-term strategy to deal with ISIL, the group responsible for Foley's death. He called them a long-term threat and said the administration would do everything they could to get the remaining hostages home safely. Everything, that is, except give in to ISIL's demands. Secretary of Defense Chuck Hagel joined with the entire country today in mourning what he calls the savage execution of journalist James Foley. But he also defended the failed operation earlier this summer that was supposed to bring Foley and the other hostages home, but didn't.
This operation, by the way, was a flawless operation, but the hostages were not there.
Foley's parents spoke to the media the day the video showing their son's brutal murder was deemed authentic. As they mourn, their thoughts are also with the Americans still in captivity, fellow Americans who at one point found comfort in Foley's unique spirit.
There were so many stories the freed hostages have told us about his humor and his love and his just the way to give each other comfort and joy, even in the midst of that horrible situation.
We do not make concessions to terrorists.
At one point, ISIL demanded more than $100 million for Foley's release. And through the statement they forced Foley to read before his beheading, made it clear that the fate of at least one other journalist, Steven Sotloff, hinges on the U.S. campaign in Iraq stopping. Today, the Obama administration is taking a hard line on both.
We believe that paying ransoms or making concessions would both put all Americans overseas at greater risk for kidnapping and in harm's way.
The United States and the international community will increase support for Iraq in tandem with political progress.
In the meantime, James Foley's parents have spoken to President Obama.
We beg that they might consider other ways of dealing such that Stephen and the others might be spared.
They are praying for unity and peace.
Let's come together as a country, please. Don't criticize one another. Jim was a great American, and he believed in the very best of our country.
Many around the world are reaching out to support the Foley family. That now includes Pope Francis. John and Diane Foley received a phone call from the Pope today. A Vatican spokesperson says he reached out to offer his condolences and to assure the family he was praying for them. In the studio, Beth Jones, CBS 13 News. Greg and Adrian, back to you.
wanted to come here today because I am very upset at the thought that the Affordable Care Act could be kicked out. It's helped so many people, particularly in my family.
We need to fix the problems and go forward.
The Affordable Care Act has its flaws like every other bill, every other law, but the fact is that there's nothing else to replace it with, and people need it in order to survive.
Senator Susan Collins' office here in Portland, Maine isn't the only one that's going to be seeing an uptick in visitors. Activists say they have more than 75 speakouts or protests planned this week as members of Congress return to their home districts for the recess.
I had a younger sister who died 20 years ago from breast cancer that was not diagnosed until she was on her deathbed because she had no insurance and never went to a doctor. More recently, my brother, who is self-employed and had no health insurance, had major back surgery. He fortunately had the back problem after the Affordable Care Act was available, and he was able to get insurance before the surgery.
It does a lot of good things. It keeps kids on their parents' plans until they're 26. It prevents insurance agencies from getting rid of people who have pre-existing conditions or not accepting them with a pre-existing condition.
Both my mom and I suffer from some chronic illnesses that need monitoring, and we go to New York for doctors and stuff like that. The only way we can afford to do that and keep up treatment is through the ACA.
I've been lucky. I have insurance. I've always had good insurance, but my close relatives have not been that lucky. And if we do away with the Affordable Care Act, and if Medicare or Medicaid are reduced, other members of my family and friends will have a terrible time trying to deal with their health problems.
We're here at HIM 17 speaking with Bob Shiput, who is the CEO of Clearwater Compliance. Now, you all really zero in on healthcare.
Exactly.
Cybersecurity, that's your primary focus. And you and I have been talking a lot about cybersecurity in the last couple of months, and a lot of your view seems to stem from the idea that the dialogue around cybersecurity these days is really missing something. It's not broad enough. So tell me about that.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, literally here at HIM 17, literally we're under the big top.
Yeah.
And in many respects, it's a 3, 4, 5 ring circus event. What I hope the conversation is about is the establishment of, the implementation of, and the maturity of an overall cyber risk management program that transcends what we know are going to be changing, the threats, the vulnerabilities, the controls, et cetera.
Bob, thanks so much for your time and your perspective here today. It's always a pleasure to speak with you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
You're watching HIM 17 TV. We're here at HIM 17 talking to Kevin Johnson, CEO of Secure Ideas. Great to see you again. Professionally evil is their motto, and they live up to it. So much going on in the world of cybersecurity, as always. Yeah. But this year, man, the healthcare sector, what a rough year they've had.
Yeah, and it's getting worse. Right. It's just going to continue. The bad guys have realized that healthcare has data they want, they have systems they want access to, and they have weaker protections than most of the other verticals. Right, it's a cautionary tale right now. What we're going to see the next 6 months, the next year, the next 5 years, we've got to get in front of it.
Kevin, thank you so much for spending some time with us and sharing your perspective. It's a pleasure as always. You're watching HIM 17 TV.